Well, I got good news. It looks like the situation that was hyped up by Joe Biden and the U.S. and Western media, UK media, a potential World War III scenario in which Russia invades Ukraine, and for some reason the West decides to declare war on Russia in defense of Ukraine. That all seems to be out the window, thankfully. I know I've been talking about this a ton lately, but this is a huge update. It seems like the momentum has completely shifted. You've got every country other than the US and the UK basically saying this is absurd, there's no war, everything's fine, we're going to work out our differences peacefully. Yeah, Russia and Ukraine and some of these other countries in Europe, we got some problems, but we can talk things out. Nobody's going to be shooting anyone. Which is more or less what I said from the beginning. I said this is ridiculous. Why would Putin invade Ukraine now of all times? He had a chance to annex part of Ukraine back in, soon after the Euromaidan coup, 2014, 2015, thereabouts. Donetsk and Luhansk wanted to join Russia. Putin had no interest in annexing any part of Ukraine, except for Crimea, because he had a military base there already. And so all of this fear-mongering and trying to, pulling embassy staff of their families out of Kiev, it was a ridiculous stunt. And now even Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is among those publicly acknowledging that and kind of apoplectic with what the U.S. is doing. I mean, I heard a great line from him. I didn't hear it directly from him. I might be getting the wording not exactly right. But he said something to the extent of, American citizens are a lot safer in Kiev than they are in Los Angeles or, one of these other crime-ridden American cities. And I don't know what the crime rate's like in Kiev, but he's probably right. I mean, if you're an American in Kiev, you're probably, the risk of a Russian invasion is not something that's going to affect you. I mean, again, it just seems like the U.S. was trying to goad Russia into it. It was like they were trying to, it was like they were seeking a self-fulfilling prophecy. They thought, maybe if we just say it enough times that Russia's going to invade Ukraine, maybe Putin will go, okay, I guess I'm going to invade Ukraine. They did everything that they could to convince Putin that he was going to do it. And it seems that nobody really was convinced, outside of maybe the American public, the American media, the British public. Zelensky also said that, he was going to try and organize a meeting between all of the relevant, leaders of Russia, Ukraine, Germany, and France. The countries that kind of matter in this situation. Of course, not at all mentioning the US or the UK, who really have no interest in this at all. France and Germany, they got an interest in this because they need Russian natural gas to heat their homes in the winter. It's pretty cold out right now where I am. Not cold enough to where I need to turn on the heat. I do still live in Florida. But in places like Germany and France, you've got some cold areas where people want to use gas to heat their homes. They need natural gas to make that stupid urea crap that they make people put in their diesel engines, make them less efficient. Big waste of resources, if you ask me, but it's something that the European Union forces them to use, so they got to have that. That comes from Russian natural gas. And, of course, fertilizer to grow their food is largely derived from Russian natural gas. And so Germany and France, they got a pretty big interest in making sure that there is no conflict between, Russia and Ukraine, because that will almost certainly boil over into a broader conflict on the European continent and would almost certainly interrupt natural gas delivery to Western countries. When you're in the middle of a war, you're probably not going to be exporting energy. You're going to want to hoard that for your own people because, during wartime, that's a time of scarcity because huge parts of the economy have to be dedicated towards fueling the war machine. And ironically enough, the U.S.'s plan, if Russia were to, for some reason, invade Ukraine, was to sanction them, to forbid them, essentially, from exporting natural gas to Western Europe, which, the U.S. has wanted to do anyway. That's what the whole blocking of the Nord Stream 2 thing was all about. They don't want Germany buying natural gas from Russia. They want them buying it from Texas. That's why you have Ted Cruz always big on this issue. Oh my gosh, we have to stop Nord Stream 2. Natural gas is very expensive right now, and if you produce natural gas, that's a good thing. You want natural gas prices to stay high because that's better for your bottom line. But it's not better for the average person, really anywhere in the world, because even if you don't use natural gas directly, even if you don't use it to heat your home, or I guess for a stove, people have gas stoves, gas water heaters, gas heated pools. Little decadent for my taste, but people do that. You certainly have eat food that is grown with fertilizer that is derived from natural gas. You certainly purchase products that at some point were shipped on trucks or trains that are powered by diesel engines, which are required by law to use that stupid urea crap, which of course is derived from natural gas. Or, in my case, the garbage trucks around here, a lot of them, I don't know, maybe I should look. I haven't noticed it in a while, but it used to be for a while the garbage truck fleet around here was powered by natural gas. So when the price of natural gas goes up, just like with oil, the price of a lot of what you buy is going to go up. And nothing could make the price of natural gas go up more than were there to be some kind of war between, Russia and, a proxy war between the U.S. and Russia that would warrant the U.S. sanctioning Russia and trying to wall them off. Russia, they're probably going to be okay if they get sanctioned because they have all the fuel. So this has always been dumb, and thankfully the adults in the room, the leaders of Ukraine, Russia, Germany, France, even though I would hate to live under any of them domestically, at least they have enough brain cells to rub together in order to come to the conclusion that what the U.S. is promoting is madness. The adults in the room are going to ride into the rescue and save us all from a completely unnecessary war. But, like I said from the beginning, this might have been the plan all along by the U.S. Whip up the American public into a frenzy over a war that was never going to occur, so that when you avert that war, when that war inevitably never happens, you can declare victory and say, hey, look, I kept us out of World War III. Even though in reality, what essentially happened was, Joe Biden marched into Eastern Europe and stamped his feet around and kept shouting at Putin, hey, hit me, hit me, hit me. And when Putin doesn't punch him in the face because Putin doesn't want to fight, then Joe can just say, look, he's so scared of me, he wouldn't even take a hit, or he wouldn't even, take a shot. And I'm glad to see, I guess that the last part of this is that the Biden administration hasn't declared victory yet. But I think they will in due time. This nonsense about 8,500 troops that I talked about yesterday, this is going to subside. The story is going to fade away. And ultimately, you will have the administration patting themselves on the back. We've got the country in question, Ukraine itself, the supposed victim, saying everything's under control. We're not about to enter World War III. Russia's not going to invade. We have no reason to believe that. And, even the White House, or not the White House, it was the Pentagon, John Kirby. I hate John Kirby. He was terrible. He was a terrible spokesman when Obama was president. He's a terrible spokesman now. He's got that ridiculous, doll face. He just did. Anyway, John Kirby came out, sounded a lot less bellicose today. He said something to the degree of, well, we always say it's important to monitor, what Russia could do, if they wanted to do, whatever it is we think that they might want to do. But he's not talking like, oh my gosh, the Russia's going to invade tomorrow. That language seems to be fading away, even in Washington. So it seems the worst of the manufactured crisis is behind us. So with that said, tomorrow is Fed Day, and we had another very volatile day today in the stock market. Closed, of course, off the lows for all three major indices. NASDAQ faring the worst, unsurprisingly, when you have high volatility. And so it will be very interesting to see what Jerome Powell has in store for us tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see if he continues his hawkish bent that he's been on, as mild as it is. It is hawkish by Powell's standards the last month or so. Or will he be sufficiently spooked by intraday volatility? Not even, it's not even like there was a huge sell-offs day after day. I mean, yeah, we're near correction territory, briefly in correction territory for the S&P, which I think is what Powell cares about. But I think that Powell might still look at himself and say, what, corrections happen. 10% is not that much for the S&P, because I think that's what the Fed probably looks at the most, is the S&P. Oh, yeah, those crazy tech stocks, they're pretty volatile, the NASDAQ. But, the S&P, dipped under 10%, but then it bounced off support, and it's back out of correction territory now, and now we can just, routine correction, back onto all-time highs. So we'll see. I'm not going to certainly there's going to be no rate hikes tomorrow, but it'll be interesting to see what Powell's tone is. So with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.